us bring our loved one, my baby, home. There was no question about how or what or why. It was just, she's gone. She didn't walk away. She's not missing. Somebody has it.
There are some text messages between Alicia and a young man that raised some red flags with us. She had made arrangements to meet with him that night.
Like, my head is numb. I'm automatically thinking that he's the culprit.
She said, "Can you please just come get me? I need you to come get me right now."
Spring 2013 in Willimantic, a former mill town in Connecticut. 20-year-old Alicia Wiley is preparing for her sophomore year finals at Eastern Connecticut State University, where she is thriving.
Alicia adapting to college life was great. My name is Shaharis Landell. I am Alicia's older sister. She loved being on her own. She didn't have anybody to answer to. I mean, she enjoyed her freedom.
She had a perfect balance of her academics and her campus life. My name is Sade Burke, and I'm a close friend of Alicia Wiley. She was someone who came off very sassy, and she was very fashionable. So you would think that someone like that is stuck up. But I remember her saying, "Hey, Sade, you're not going to say hi?" And that was the first time we ever had like a conversation, because we never spoke before then.
Alicia was born on November 24th, 1992. And according to her mother, she was headstrong from the start.
Alicia was determined to come into this world. And when I was 8 months pregnant, Alicia finally decided she couldn't wait no more. She was so tiny, like she fit in the palm of my hand. We used to call her Lily because her sister really couldn't say Alicia. She would always say Alili.
The third daughter of single mother Karina Martin, Alicia forms a tight bond with Shahares, her older sister.
Alicia was the type that would, if she saw me liking something, she would try it out. We fought over clothes because I don't want to give her a bad name, but she was a bit of a klepto at one point. We love fashion. We love dressing up. And that's something that we bonded on, glamming up. But we were there for each other. We were close.
Growing up, life isn't easy, but Karina instills in her daughters the drive to overcome adversity.
Education was so important because she was a single mom. Making sure that we were able to stand on our own was a huge thing for her. She was just like, you have to have an education. I didn't go to college, but you're going to go to college.
Alicia's drive was unstoppable. I was in awe of it.
Alicia's hard work pays off with a presidential scholarship to Eastern Connecticut State University. It covers tuition, room, and board.
We were ecstatic for her to be a young Black woman and see that people were recognizing her for the content of her character and her exceptional mind, That's huge. That's huge.
But on the night of Saturday, April 20th, Alicia's best friend, Sade, is concerned when Alicia never shows to meet in her dorm room as they had planned.
We initially started texting, I want to say around 11. She's telling me that she's walking, she's coming to me, and she needs a drink. We were just going to hang out. I was waiting for like a text or a call or something that she was coming, and I got nothing. Then I called her twice, and I got no response to that either. But briefly for that moment, I let it go. I'm like, okay, next week it's gonna come and she has to go to class. Monday comes, she's not there. Not in class, anything. So now I'm not gonna lie, I'm really freaking out.
With her anxiety mounting, Sade decides to seek help the next morning.
I approach our professor and I ask him, have you seen Alicia? He's just like, no. And he was just like, why? And I was like, well, I haven't seen her all weekend. And then he side-eyed me and he was like, is that normal behavior for her? And I was like, no. He was like, okay, well, I'm going to check to see if she's attended her other classes and then I'll get back to you. Then later that day, I get a call from campus police letting me know that she was nowhere to be found and she's been missing for a few days. My heart dropped because that's when I realized that this was no longer like me just being in my head. This was for real.
Later that day, campus police reach out to authorities in Alicia's hometown of New Haven for assistance.
A knock came on the door, and my stepdad said, Corey, there's a policeman here asking about Alicia. And I said, she's at school. Why are you looking for Alicia? And he says, well, I was told to do a well check. I was like, a well check? For what? She's up at school getting ready for finals. Why? And that's when they told me that Alicia had been missing.
With Alicia now missing for 3 days, campus security contacts the Connecticut State Police. The case is assigned to lead investigator Sergeant Forrest Ruddy.
I was contacted to assist the University Police with their missing person investigation. So a detective sergeant, a couple other detectives responded to the campus. They were assigned to interview her roommates, her classmates, her professors in the classes that she was in. Everyone was saying the same thing. We haven't heard from her in days. So that was a little more alarming, and I get more detectives on the scene.
Working with university police, investigators attempt to track Alicia's movements and uncover their first clue.
I'm Joseph T. Corradino, State's Attorney for the Judicial District of Fairfield. The school was able to access its various data systems, and they were able to document the last time that she was on campus.
The footage in question shows Alicia on the morning of Saturday, April 20th.
We have her on surveillance cameras in the lobby of Ockham Hall, and then leaving the building. We were able to recover Alicia walking out of Ockham Hall. And then waiting outside in a black Nissan Altima shows up. And Alicia gets in there. That raised some red flags with us.
Shocking secrets from the past.
I didn't want her to think, who else can I trust? So I kept it. What she told me, I kept.
Heartbreaking regrets.
I was just crying. That destroyed me because it made it feel like she was never coming back.
And the quest to decipher Alicia's final moments.
She said, I want you to know this isn't the first time this happened. And I was like, what do you mean?
The story changed, so we want to gain as much information as we can.
Connecticut authorities are investigating the disappearance of 20-year-old college student Alicia Wiley. When investigators inform Alicia Wiley's mother that her daughter has been missing from campus for 3 days, she's distraught.
It took me about 45 minutes to convince the officer that Alicia, she's not missing. She didn't walk away from her life. She's not missing. She's not missing. Somebody has her.
The last time Alicia was seen on campus was on Saturday, when surveillance footage captures her getting into an unidentified black car.
It was obvious to us that she knew who it was. At that point in the investigation, it looked like, okay, she was a willing participant in that vehicle. University Police Department detectives had been speaking with the family members. They were in contact with the last person known to be seen with Alicia.
The family reveals that the person in question is her boyfriend, Jermaine Richards, and that the relationship began in high school.
When she was a junior in high school, she was like, hey, I started talking to this guy. That guy was Jermaine. Alicia told me that she was walking home from school one day and he seen her and approached her in a car. That's how they met.
She just said that she really loved him and she did want to start a family. She described him as like the dream guy.
After reviewing the footage and confirming that the vehicle belongs to Richards, investigators make arrangements to question him.
Detectives had been speaking with family members, and they related to us that they were in contact with the boyfriend, Jermaine, and they asked him to respond up to the police department to assist us in our investigation, since he was the last person known to be seen with Alicia. We're looking for help here. We want to gain as much information as we can.
Richards tells police that after picking up his girlfriend on campus a little after noon on Saturday, he then drove an hour and a half southwest to Bridgeport, where they spent an uneventful day at his mother's house.
Then he told the police he had dropped her off on campus on that Saturday, sometime shortly before 11 p.m. He left her at the Dairy Queen, which is about 2 blocks from the main gate of the campus, and he came back to Bridgeport.
According to Jermaine, he hasn't heard from Alicia since dropping her off.
So at the time we spoke initially with Jermaine, we looked into his background. He didn't really have that much of a criminal history. The family also had mentioned that he was in the nursing field, healthcare assistant, at home care and things like that. In interviewing his mother, she pretty much said that she had seen Alicia and Jermaine at her house in Bridgeport the night before. They were getting along, didn't seem like anything was wrong, so she said there was no issues. We looked into his black Altima to see if there's any evidence in there, any signs of a fight or anything broken inside the vehicle. There was nothing.
To track the couple's movements on Saturday, investigators subpoena their cell phone records. While they must wait for Alicia's, they immediately gain access to Jermaine's.
Cell site data is limited. We don't get an exact GPS location. We simply get a range in which the phone may have been. After he left her at the Dairy Queen, he gets on the telephone.
His cell phone was on the towers up in Willimantic at 11 p.m. And then there was a 45-minute phone conversation with another friend.
He's on the telephone almost all the way back to Bridgeport. So his phone is making contact with cell towers over the entire distance from Willimantic back to Bridgeport. That's a distance of about 75 miles.
It seems Richard's story checks out.
Jermaine Richards said he had dropped her off on campus. So the police set up a cordon around the campus to interview any person that came into that cordon and ask them if they had been out the previous Saturday night. Over 300 people were interviewed.
but no one claims to have seen her. Investigators broaden their search from the college campus and find something disturbing nearby.
My name is Daniel Tepfer. I'm a reporter for the Connecticut Post newspaper. Just kind of an odd population in Willimantic. Just down the street from the school, there was kind of a rooming house, drug addicts and people with psychological problems. So there was always that question about maybe somebody in that town could have done something to Alicia.
If in fact he did drop her off there, some random sex offender could have grabbed onto her, thrown her in a car, and then taken off.
In the days after Alicia Wiley goes missing, investigators are looking into the possibility that she was abducted after her boyfriend claims he dropped her off on Saturday night near campus.
If in fact he did drop her off there, some random sex offender could have grabbed onto her, thrown her in a car, and then taken off.
After searching on campus, investigators look for possible suspects in the neighborhoods nearby.
We checked with our sex offender registry, the local PDs, every police department in that area. We spoke to all of them. Everyone was alibied out.
Then, investigators get their hands on Alicia's cell records and begin studying the data.
Working with the cell phone towers in triangulation where the phones would plot, and kind of gave us almost like a breadcrumb of where her activities were. In addition to those locations, we also had text messages back and forth with Alicia and her friends and her family. There was text messages from Alicia's phone, and it's bouncing off the towers that are right around the university.
Based on the timestamp of her texts, investigators discovered that Alicia was communicating with Sade while she waited for Jermaine to pick her up. So for the first time, state police seek out Alicia's best friend. A week after alerting campus police that Alicia was missing, Sade is anxious and confused and in a state of denial.
A lot of it was happening when I was still trying to attend classes, or when I was locked up in my room, trying to process it all. But I didn't realize it was serious until I got pulled out of class to speak to a detective. And I was just well, you're pulling me out of class. This is serious. So I'm just my head is just nowhere at that point. My head is numb. I don't know what to think anymore.
Detectives ask Sade about the text messages she and Alicia exchanged on the day she went missing, which started that Saturday around noon.
It was normal for me and Alicia to text all day, every day, because we always had things to talk about. So I was letting her know how everything was going, and we were just kind of cracking jokes.
Alicia then reveals something unexpected.
Then randomly, she said that she's over the relationship and she wants to be done with Jermaine. The text wasn't odd to me, because I feel I knew Alicia was going to break up with Jermaine soon. I just didn't know when. What caught my surprise was not the fact that she actually was breaking up with him, just that she did it sooner than I expected.
According to Sade, once Alicia started college, her relationship with her long-term high school boyfriend began to change.
As me and her became closer, and the more we hung out and the more I started to bring her around the friends I was around, she started to meet other guys. And of course, they're more studious. They're upstanding guys. You know what I mean? They're in college. Jermaine is somewhere else. So I feel that opened her eyes a little bit more to the world. There's more to life than just Jermaine. I feel she started to have a self-realization moment. And over time, I noticed that she was more open to dating or talking to other guys. And that's what let me know, okay, Jermaine's going to be out of the picture pretty soon. I think she just said she was just like over it, like her patience is just through with him.
Sade tells police that she didn't hear from her friend again until later on that night, around 11 p.m.
She's telling me that she's at Dairy Queen and she's walking, she's coming to me. And the text said, "It's over, I'm coming over, I need a drink." And I just replied with okay.
Anxious to hear about the breakup, Sade anticipates Alicia's arrival, but she never shows.
It's weird that she didn't reach back out to me. She said she was coming and never showed up. Something's not right, something's off.
The 11:03 p.m. text to Sade is the last communication from Alicia's phone.
Alicia's phone is bouncing off the towers that are right around the university and the town of Willimantic. But then the phone stops and nowhere to be found.
However, her phone offers another clue, a series of texts to an unknown number that begin that Saturday at 4:43 p.m.
There was a former boyfriend that she was speaking with. She had made arrangements to meet with him that night.
Investigators in the Alicia Wiley disappearance case discover that while she was spending the weekend with her boyfriend, Jermaine, she was communicating with another man.
There are some text messages later in the afternoon between Lily and a young man that she had known before becoming involved with Jermaine. And in that set of texts, she suggests that perhaps he could come over that night and asks what time he's getting off work.
And they went back to talk to him just to see if he had any information on where she could be.
The young man tells police that Alicia's text messages stopped late Saturday afternoon, and he has not heard from her since.
He showed some real concern for Alicia's whereabouts. I mean, he's really seemed that he really wanted to know and wanted to help.
He gave us a story, we followed through with it, and his story checked out.
That young man worked at a restaurant in New Haven until 11 o'clock at night. According to Jermaine Richards, at 11 o'clock at night, he had just dropped Lily off back in Willimantic. So, in effect, Jermaine himself rules that young man out as a suspect.
When investigators learned that Alicia had reached out to an ex, the same weekend she had planned to break up with Jermaine, detectives re-examined the relationship with her long-term boyfriend.
Well, that was very concerning to us. We're looking for help here. We want to gain as much information as we can.
But when detectives try to find out more details on their relationship, they're surprised by what they find.
Her friends didn't really know much about him. Occasionally she would let slip some little thing, but he was her big secret. A lot of her friends really didn't understand why. It definitely was something that she kept under wraps.
She was in another world when he came around. It was like nobody else existed. She was in love with him.
To further probe the details of Alicia and Jermaine's relationship, detectives speak with Alicia's closest ally and confidant, her sister, Shaharez. And she reveals an alarming incident that occurred a month before Alicia disappeared.
She called me and she said, "Can you please just come get me? Come get me right now. I need you to come get me right now." And she's like whispering. And she was like, "I'm in one of the bathrooms. I'm at one of his clients' house with Jermaine. And I don't want to be here." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting up right now." At the time, the guy that I was with, I woke him up and I was like, "We have to go get my sister right now.
Sometime after midnight, the couple drove 45 minutes to pick up Alicia.
Lily came out of the house. She appeared to her sister and brother-in-law to be very nervous, very upset, and very fearful. They took her home that night.
And I'm like, what happened? And she's like, I just was trying to talk to him and he just got so mad and he put me on the bed and he was like smothering me. He was like choking me and like he started fighting me and I don't even know why. She said, I want you to know this isn't the first time this happened. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, this isn't the first time that he's like put his hands on me. And I said, well, you don't have to tell me everything. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I'm here for you. And she just got up and walked back into the living room. And we went to sleep.
Despite the encounter, Alicia had difficulty breaking the alleged cycle of abuse.
There was a night that she stayed with me during that week, and we woke up, and she was gone. She came back in the house, and we were like, where did you go? And she said she went to go meet with Jermaine. At that point, I was so pissed because I'm like, this guy was suffocating you, like he's trying to harm you, and I don't want you to go down this road. She didn't want to hear that.
I think a lot of people remain silent when it comes to intimate partner violence and domestic violence and teen dating violence because they love the person that they're with. There's this thought that this person will change and they will make changes and it will never happen again. The violence will never happen again. And so they hang their hopes on that particular thought, that it did happen. I know it happened, but, he said he's going to change.
I didn't want to lose her to me running my mouth. Like, I didn't want her to think, okay, now I told her and now she's going to go and tell everybody else. And then now I'm just going to go back to the same situation because who else can I trust? So I kept it. What she told me, I kept until one day she was gone.
The race to find Alicia.
As time stretches on, the chances of somebody being found alive are not good.
A family torn apart.
As a mom, that was the most excruciating part, just because there's just so much raw emotion.
And the chilling trail to Alicia's final moments.
It wasn't a saw, it wasn't an axe, it was a knife.
My mind went completely blank. I started to hyperventilate.
When Alicia's sister, Shaharez, tells investigators that Jermaine tried to strangle her sister a month before she disappeared, they are alarmed.
And with the domestic violence, obviously the story changed, so we continued our investigation on that.
Police fear that Alicia's intent to break up with Jermaine that weekend may have triggered a violent reaction. When detectives reach out to him, he refuses to come in for further questioning.
So that was very concerning to us, because here we think, okay, you're the boyfriend, you should show some type of concern for her safety, assist the police. So that raised some red flags with us.
Then about 2 weeks into the searches, one of the detectives that was assigned to our case said to me, Shaharez had told us she went to go and pick up Alicia, and he tried to strangle her. And as a mom, that was the most excruciating part.
I wasn't aware of the whole incident with Alicia and Jermaine. Alicia never brought it up to me. It broke my heart hearing about that situation. I'm automatically thinking that Jermaine is the culprit. Maybe he took her.
With no concrete evidence, police turned to the family in hopes of putting pressure on Jermaine.
The family of a college student who has been missing for more than a week is reaching out to the public for help.
The detectives, they asked me to talk to the media. They wanted to set up for a press conference. We were all scrambling, trying to figure out, how did we get to him? And I says, listen, I don't know what to say. And they were like, just don't specifically talk about Jermaine, but you can talk as if you're talking to him. And that's what I did. We need for anybody who knows something, and I know there's someone out here who does, to come forward. Please help us bring our loved one, my baby, home. To try and beg someone not to hurt your child. So yeah, but you do what you have to do as a mother. And I would have done anything. For her to be able to come home. Sorry.
People were out trying to find Alicia, but as time stretches on, the chances of somebody being found alive are not good. And in this case, I mean, we were going from days to weeks to months now.
I was just crying. That destroyed me because it made it feel like she was never coming back.
To focus their efforts to find Alicia, investigators search along the route he drove on the night she disappeared.
She's last seen in Bridgeport with Jermaine Richards. And her school is in Willimantic. It's important to understand that in figuring out what happened on the night she disappeared.
On May 17th, a month after Alicia went missing, a search party summons Sergeant Ruddy to a location near Bridgeport.
So we get down there, it's like a cul-de-sac. We walked into the woods, observed what we had, partial human remains. It's essentially an arm and a leg in a substantial state of decomposition.
And once you realize that these are human bones, of course the question is, well, what happened to the rest of the body?
A DNA test later confirms the victim is Alicia Wiley. While examining her remains, investigators draw a chilling conclusion.
The medical examiner determined that those remains had been disarticulated by an edged instrument. It wasn't a saw, it wasn't an axe, it was a knife. That's a skill set that one who knows human anatomy would have to have. Jermaine Richards completed the course of study prescribed for a licensed practical nurse. Among the things that he needed to know was human anatomy. The area where the remains were was actually about 1.5 miles from his house.
This has now gone from missing person case to horrendous murder case.
Soon after the discovery, investigators make a difficult call.
They told me that we're sorry to inform you, but it wasn't a body that we found.
My mind went completely blank. I started to hyperventilate.
Not only did he murder her, he threw my baby away like trash.
And I just remember, I just started bawling. I just couldn't take it.
To build a case against Richards, investigators re-examine his alibi for the day Alicia disappeared.
The discovery of Lili's remains exploded his story about taking her back to Willimantic. Why would the defendant drive her all the way to Willimantic only to leave her off 2 blocks from the school?
The added twist to this is that she had texted her friends at college that she was on her way back after breaking up with Jermaine. And that added to the mystery.
And we have no idea who sent texts to Sade Burke. In all likelihood, it was not Lili sending those texts.
On May 17, 2013, police issue a warrant for Jermaine Richards' arrest.
Tonight, police say Jermaine Richards of Bridgeport has surrendered to police.
They say that Richards is charged with murder as well as kidnapping in the first degree.
But District Attorney Joe Corradino must overcome daunting challenges to secure a conviction.
There's no glove, there's no knife, there's no smoking gun, there's no blood stains, there's no DNA. All the things that normally you would find in a murder scene, there is nothing. There was a genuine concern that Jermaine Richards was going to get away with this crime.
In the absence of physical evidence linking Jermaine Richards to the murder of Alicia Wiley, the prosecution zeroes in on a trial strategy.
The prosecution took a completely different tack.
Our focus was on the issue of domestic violence. It was important for the jury to consider what was happening in that relationship.
It's not easy to leave a relationship. It's not easy to get out. When you're in it, you don't truly understand the dynamics. People forget that intimate partner violence is not just physical. It's emotional, it's psychological.
But we all need to understand that the most fatal time for anyone getting out of a domestically abusive relationship is leaving. I didn't teach my girls that. I didn't know.
After presenting their domestic violence-driven case, the prosecution rests, and the jury announces they've reached a verdict.
I remember I was sitting with Karina. We were like holding each other's hands the entire time. We were both super nervous. We didn't know what was going to happen.
And then the foreman said guilty.
It was like a breath of fresh air. It was just thank God the entire time. Like I was just so happy. I prayed so hard, so much. Like that's all I can do was be happy. Like finally.
Jermaine Richards is sentenced to 60 years without the possibility of parole for the murder of Alicia Wiley. In the wake of the trial, Karina sets out on a mission to share her hardship and honor her beloved daughter.
The horrific loss of her daughter didn't paralyze her. It didn't numb her. What it did was it motivated her.
We started a nonprofit organization called Mothers of Victims Equality to bring up awareness about different scenarios of domestic violence, not just on those that are going through it, but also the family members and the community as a whole.
Years later, Shaharez recalls the final moments she spent with her sister, a few weeks before she was killed, and a heated exchange about Alicia's relationship with Jermaine.
We just got into this huge argument, and she was like, I'm so sick of this. I'm so tired of this. I couldn't understand what was happening inside. We were arguing, and it was like, it's not something that we haven't done before. And it was burning. I've never felt like that when I've argued with her. And I was like, I don't feel right letting her go, like us parting like this. And I was like, okay, well, I'm sorry. And she was like, I'm sorry too. And we hugged. And that was like my last face-to-face with her.
For Sade, she remembers the spirit that radiated through the texts Alicia sent in her final moments.
She wasn't a victim. She was a person that had life. She was someone who was strong. She was someone who was trying to get out of the situation, which is why I always tell women whenever they're dating men is to make sure you love yourself first and foremost.
She was driven, like she was doing it. She was going for the goal. And for that to just so horrifically be snatched away. It just hurts, it hurts.
Do you guys feel that basketball saves lives in our community?
Oh yeah, it's definitely. Can't be out on the streets. As it is, that's all it is. So if you're in the gym and worse than the streets, you might have just rushed a bullet that was for somebody else before you.
Our whole world collapsed in that day.
And whatever coward did this, I hope you caught. Turn yourself in.
It was willful, deliberate, premeditated. They wanted Lamont Adair dead.
He was a good child. He was a good guy. He was doing something that, mattered.
The video is chilling because you just see the brazen act very clearly.
And my brother did not leave the house thinking that he was going to die that day. He was the one who made the call for him to come up there. He was the one who put Lamont in a location to be a victim of this murder.
Summer 2018. Seat Pleasant, Maryland. A tough suburb just outside of Washington, D.C. A 24-year-old aspiring basketball star, Lamont Adair, has just earned the opportunity of a lifetime. The chance to play professional ball in China.
Oh, he loved basketball. It didn't matter what was going on. If someone called him, Lamont, you want to play ball? He was there. I'm Urania Jackson. I am Lamont's older sister. He always had a basketball somewhere in his hands. Next to family, basketball was everything.
You think it's funny too? You think it's funny?
He was just really excited. My name is Darlene Rainey. I'm Lamont William Jr.'s mom. He didn't care if he went overseas. He didn't care if he played for the NBA. He just liked to play ball. I thought he played better than Michael Jordan, but you know.
For him, it was like the break that he's been waiting for. Everything was falling into place. Everything was going the way he wanted it to go.
Lamont's path to professional success was full of adversity, but he's always had the support of an adoring family.
Lamont was born on October 23rd, 1993, in the morning, the day of my baby shower. I was helping, well, I wasn't supposed to be helping with the baby shower, but I was. So I started having labor pains.
We were setting up decorations and everything, and she started having contractions, and she drove herself to the hospital. I was in the 6th grade, and I remember being so excited. He had everyone's heart and wrapped around his fingers, basically.
A little spoiled, but in the sense that that's family, and he's a baby brother. Whatever he wanted, he could have gotten from any of us.
Oh, Lord. As a child, Lamont was very busy. Anything that we were doing, he wanted to do it. That's where his basketball career came in, because we would play basketball across the street from my grandmother's house. So whenever we played, we didn't go easy on him. We would just play him just like anyone else. Like, you're going to have to beat us to get to the court. So I think him going through that, it actually helped build his skill.
He started to really hone in on his craft. Like, he was really good at it and really competitive. And then when he started getting taller, it was just like, wow. We called him Monty, but on the basketball court, they called him Tree. He did own the name Tree, just like in his reach, reaching for the ball, being able to dunk.
High school success leads to a chance to play college ball in the Midwest.
He's the first out of all of my mom's kids to go away to college. So we're excited. Iowa was a bit far for us, but you know where he is, and you know he's going for a purpose.
I said, so what do you do out there in Iowa? He's like, they don't do anything but tip cows out here. And I was like, what is that? He's like, they tip cows over. I think he really missed home a lot.
After some basketball injuries and bouts of homesickness, Lamont drops out. Back in Seat Pleasant, he must contend with a different set of concerns.
The level of violence is escalating here. It worried him to come back home. He was scared that something would happen to him.
You would hear of gun violence. You would hear of, different tragedies. If you cross out of Maryland, you're right there in D.C., and sometimes the crime from D.C. would come over into Prince George's County.
But Lamont continues to work on his game, and in 2018, earns his shot to play in China. Months earlier, he received even more thrilling news from an ex-girlfriend. Lamont is going to be a father.
His son's name is Makai. I remember the first time meeting him, I was like, he is the epitome of his father. It just is amazing how DNA is passed to the next generation, because he acts just like him. His stance and everything is just like him.
On August 7th, Lamont shares exciting news about his son with his sister Urania.
And I remember he came and showed me a video, and he's like, did you see Makai walking? He shows me the phone. Oh, he was like, he's walking.
Oh my goodness!
And this is as he's leaving out of the door. And I give him a hug, and I said, I love you, be safe. And he was like, okay, I'll see you later. And, I hold that memory and I cherish it, because who would ever think that that would be the last time I see my little brother alive?
The next day, Lamont's older sister receives an alarming call.
I'm at the gas station pumping gas. The phone rings. This guy that Lamont grew up with, he's like, your brother just got shot.
just got shot. Like, what do you mean he just got shot? Oh no, your brother just got shot. And so, like, I started crying. I asked where it was, and he said it was on Craig Street. And when I called 911, I told the operator that somebody just called me and told me that my brother was shot because they sent an ambulance. And she said the police were there. I'm praying that he's okay. Like, please keep the blood flowing to his heart.
I'm Jonathan Church. I'm a deputy state's attorney in Prince George's County State's Attorney's Office. The police get a 911 call for the shots fired on Grigg Street. And when they arrive, they find that a man was suffering from multiple gunshot wounds.
My name is Thea Zumwalt. I'm an assistant state's attorney in Prince George's County, Maryland. Paramedics arrived within minutes of the call. He was found between a parked car, and then the curb, and they determined that he was unresponsive.
So as soon as he is pronounced dead, homicide unit shows up. One goal is to come collect all the forensic evidence that they can find. He has his phone with him. So they do identify him as Lamont Adair. And then that starts the homicide detectives running.
The reports that they were getting was that a car drove by and was firing. So they had casings all along the road that they had to make sure that they got them all.
It was somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 fired cartridge casings, which really indicates to us that the gun was fired probably to the point of where it was empty. It was apparent based on the location of the gunshot wounds that some of those are what's called defensive wounds, where he was moving and trying to avoid being shot at, which would give you an indication that the person was walking up on him as he was firing as well.
There were several buildings to this complex, and that apartment complex did have several cameras. So they made it a priority to secure the footage for that.
They don't get to view it right away, so they're dragging in as much potential evidence as possible that might help solve, number one, what that vehicle was, and then who was in the vehicle at the time, and then who would have had a reason to do this.
And once the initial scene is secured, and in this case there was no one who committed the crime who was on scene, so they were able to secure it pretty quickly. And it was a pretty large area that they had to cordon off.
So when we got in there, they had it taped off and wouldn't let us get to where he was. And they was, not letting me see him. No, you can't come close. I said, no, I'm going to see him. But when you deliver a baby and they cut the umbilical cord, it's still an invisible umbilical cord still there. Because you can feel one of your kids, there's something going wrong. I just think about how a waste of life it was.
Investigators discover critical clues in Lamont's final moments.
This person who shot Lamont knew him.
A surprising motive emerges.
The phrase everybody uses is the streets are talking.
There were several rumors that he was a snitch for the police.
And the killer's inner world is revealed.
He's hot-headed. He gets angry.
On 8/8/2018, this is where Lamont William Adair Jr., Tree, Monty was murdered at. Today is his 27th birthday. We miss you, Monty. Rest in peace. Baller for life.
As investigators process the scene of Lamont Adair's murder, local media race to cover the tragedy.
And whatever coward did this, I hope you caught. Turn yourself in.
So a crowd starts to gather because it's a very populated area and it's midday. There's an entire team of detectives that spread out and look at different things, knocking on every door of every apartment that had a window that oversaw where this happened, asking people's names and identification information and phone numbers. What did you see?
There really wasn't anything clear in the immediate information that the detectives received for them to go to figure out why him.
In search of leads, detectives turned back to a piece of evidence recovered from the crime scene.
When Mr. Adair is found, he has his phone with him, and the phone can be like a wealth, a treasure trove of information. They can identify who his family members are, who he is in particular, start talking with family members.
Later that evening, investigators asked Darlene about Lamont's movements that afternoon.
I told them they were living at my house. Lamont and Makai. Lamont had his room downstairs. So he was down there about maybe 2 or 3 hours playing with Makai. And then I think he got a phone call because he came upstairs and he went in the, he said, "Here, I'll take him." He was going out to work out like he normally did, but he was meeting somebody.
What she didn't realize is what seemed like an everyday moment would be one of Lamont's last.
I don't know why, but something just told me look out the door. When I saw him walking down the street and he was gone.
So initially, after talking to family and friends of Lamont Adair, there isn't somebody that readily stands out as a suspect because he's not involved in anything that we're aware of that would have made him a target.
Investigators then turned their focus to Lamont's online activity in the days leading up to his final moments.
There are a team of detectives checking his social media to see who he posted recently with, what he might have said, whether it was something that might have been responded to hostilely.
From what was in his phone, he lived a normal 20-something-year-old talented, handsome individual's life. I mean, he played basketball, he dated women, he loved his little boy, loved his family.
There's videos of him on Instagram, and Makai would be on his legs, around Lamont's neck, and he's up here rocking him to sleep. And he'll fall asleep like that, like laying on his head.
On August 4th, just 4 days before he was murdered, Lamont posted images from a local charity event.
Lamont did a benefit basketball game for an organization called Hoops for Peace.
Do you guys feel that basketball saves lives in our community?
Oh, yes, definitely. Can't be out on the streets, Because it is my fault. So if you're in the gym and versus being in the streets, you might have just messed up with it. That was somebody else before you. It was just better to be in the gym playing basketball or working out than being outside hanging with your friends.
Lamont was actually cautioning the kids about the streets not having anything for him. And so it's chilling.
He was saying, I'd rather be in the gym playing ball than to be getting somebody else's bullet or somebody shooting me.
On August 6th, 2 days before he was killed, Lamont posted this image on social media.
His reputation was that he was active in his community. He was trying to inspire others to be better people.
There really wasn't anything definitive in his phone that pointed us in any direction about who did it.
Lamont's family, however, believe his growing notoriety and recent success may have made him a target.
A lot of people were upset with Lamont because of the opportunities that he has. And we're all like, we know he was just about to go play basketball overseas, and really a lot of people were jealous of him.
He was headed to the basketball court not far from where he was shot and killed. Who was he meeting there? Were the people there that were supposed to be there? Where were the people that he was supposed to meet if they weren't there? And one of the people that Lamont may have been going to play basketball with was a man by the name of Thomas.
As they process the events of August 8th, Lamont's family have grown suspicious of the friend who invited him to play ball that afternoon.
My brother did not leave the house thinking that he was going to die that day. Thomas told Lamont, let's go play basketball.
People were going around saying that Thomas set it up, which we felt that way anyway, because it was just too coincidental that you call him and tell him to come up and play.
Rumors suggest that Thomas may have coordinated with the gunman to get Lamont to Gregg Street.
If anyone were able to call him somewhere, it would be Thomas because he trusted him.
The indication was that he was plotting to do this to Lamont. There were rumors. He knew that it was happening and they helped facilitate it.
Lamont's family have tipped off investigators to a friend who may have been involved in the murder.
Thomas was somebody who was on scene at the time of the murder. Detectives were looking at him as possibly being involved, or at least not telling what he really knew about it.
Thomas was one of the first names that I gave to the detectives. He was the one who made the call for him to come up there. He was the one who got him to come out of the house. He was the one who put Lamont in a location to be a victim of this murder.
Police actually interviewed Thomas. He came into the station and they interviewed him there to determine whether he might have been involved or what he knew.
Investigators begin by questioning Thomas about his plans for that day.
So when police talked to him, he's very quiet, trying to figure things out. You can tell he's contemplative. He had not yet met with Lamont and didn't know anything that was useful. They just didn't get any information that was usable from Thomas.
Detectives then set out to validate his version of events.
We had 6 or 7 cell phone dumps that we went through. His phone was pulled, and there was no indication that he had anything to do with the murder of Lamont Adair.
They could tell that he called Lamont up to the scene. He was the one who made the call for him to come up there. But they didn't feel like he was involved.
After clearing Thomas, detectives gain access to the footage from the housing complex that could reveal Lamont's final moments.
So when police actually pull the footage of this video camera that's on the corner of one of the apartment buildings, it does a 360-degree pan. Every couple seconds, it starts to pan away into the back through an alley to another street and then back around to the front. And we have very small snippets of it because it's rotating the entire time.
Detectives then cue the tape up to the moment in question.
And at about 3:49, 3:50 that afternoon, you can see an individual who we know is Lamont Adair based on where he falls and where police find him. And then eventually you see a gray Toyota Corolla pull up. And that's when the driver's door opens and the driver jumps out of the vehicle and approaches Lamont Adair.
The video is chilling because you see the figure just fire, shooting in broad daylight, and you see Lamont get down to his knees and he's trying to fight, but he's just executed on the street in front of everybody.
And then the camera pans out of view.
When the camera returns to the scene, the final moments of the tragedy unfold.
After he had shot Lamont, he runs back to the driver's side. He can't get into the driver's side. He hops to the back of the car. He gets in and the car drives away. You couldn't identify any movement in the car, but we were able to determine that there was somebody else in the car at the time who was in the driver's seat because the car drove away with the defendant in the back.
We know there's another person who witnessed the shooting, a person who slid into the driver's seat and shut the door.
To me, this person who shot Lamont knew him. I mean, it was willful, deliberate, premeditated. They wanted Lamont Adair dead.
I am Aisha Braveboy, State's Attorney for Prince George's County, Maryland. Surveillance video can be extremely helpful in identifying suspects. In this case, however, it was very, very grainy, so it was very difficult to make out the features of the suspect.
You can tell that the driver who exited the car had dreads, was an African-American male. Beyond that, there was nothing in that video that could tell us who that was. It was a very small, common car, gray in color. There was nothing unique about it. There was no way to tell the license plate.
But upon rewatching Lamont's final moments, they observe someone else who may be able to identify the killer.
So the shooting takes place right here, but in the video you actually see this maintenance worker had pulled up to the main street where the defendant's car was traveling. But you saw in the video, they saw everything. And then initially when I reviewed this video, I said to John, like, let's get this maintenance worker in.
Days later, investigators bring this eyewitness in for questioning.
How you doing, sir? I do appreciate you coming and taking the time to talk to me. I'm sure you're busy and really don't want to be a mole. I just want to get some basic information from you. And what do you do over there? On the day of the shooting, you remember that day? Yeah, I remember. Can you tell me what happened?
They just let me pull up in the car because he just come pull up, start shooting.
The person that was doing the shooting, can you describe the person at all?
Right. Like my head in the back of a shower. We missed them. Lamont's 27th birthday, baller for life, celebration of his life. This is Lamont's niece that he never met. She'll be a year old. All right, this month.
It's Calvin, a friend of Monty. Man, we miss you down here. You know, you locked more there forever. Be your family, real friends. Happy birthday, happy 27th birthday, man. We love you, miss you.
Happy birthday, Monty! 27th birthday!
Investigators are questioning a witness who observed Lamont Adair's final moments in hopes of identifying the shooter.
On the day of the shooting, you remember that day?
They just let me pull up in the car because he just come pull up, start shooting.
The person that was doing the shooting, can you describe the person at all?
I don't know the person who got shot. I don't know the one who shot.
Did you see someone get out of the car?
No.
No?
No.
Can't you describe anything about them?
No, because I'm scared. I don't wait for, I don't look for nothing.
This maintenance worker, he didn't see anything.
You know, black, white, Asian.
No.
So it was a very frustrating, moment for us.
I appreciate you coming in to talk to me. I mean, of course, I wish you had more information, but I appreciate you.
The witness's failure to identify the shooter highlights a major challenge detectives are facing.
Sadly, there is an anti-snitching mentality for witnesses, and a lot of that probably is out of fear. And they've got to live with the people that may have been involved in the incident.
I understand the very real danger that people may feel if they do talk about cases. But in this particular case, it was so frustrating to see the number of people out and nobody saw anything who could really tell us where to go.
In the face of community silence, Lamont's family decides to speak out.
The neighborhood didn't talk. So we got together as a family and we're like, well, we need to go up there and protest. We walked from the street where he was murdered all the way down to the rec center.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
The thing that mattered to me most was making sure someone opened their mouth enough to find out who did this to my brother.
Don't sit and hide behind the windows and curtains. Tell what you know. I said, today is my son, Lamont William Adair Jr. Tomorrow it could be your father, your brother, somebody you love, so you would want to tell what happened because you would want somebody to tell you what happened to your family member.
In the days following the protest, it's apparent that their message is getting through.
People had started inboxing me from seeing us on the news, from seeing us up there protesting, from us pleading with the community members to speak up.
The detectives fielded many reports from the family about what they had heard, who they heard it from, and the family was really active in trying to just find out information and funnel it to the detectives.
One rumor suggests that an incident in Lamont's past made him a target for revenge.
There were several rumors. One of them was that he was possibly a snitch for the police. That was basically that came up because he had recently, prior to this, had acquired a weed charge where he was found in a car smoking some weed.
Like most of the kids his age, Lamont has started recreational use of like marijuana. I think that's the way that he, detached from his issues or problems. And he got into some trouble and they arrested him.
It seems that after the arrest, some individuals may have viewed Lamont with suspicion.
I don't believe he was in jail for very long when he had been arrested for that. And certainly some of the rumors that circulate is that if you're out quickly, that you must be working with the police. And I guess the phrase everybody uses is the streets are talking. And so some of the original rumors that went around were that potential suspects could be people who weren't happy about that.
Detectives reach out to their partners in the narcotics unit.
It wasn't a big charge. There would be no reason for him to want to subject himself to the dangers of becoming a snitch to work off a weed charge.
We had no knowledge that he had been working with police on anything.
Lamont didn't tell on anybody. He took the charge and then he put that moment behind him and he moved forward. Like that little scare turned his life around.
It's another dead end. But then, a friend of Lamont approaches police, claiming she has knowledge about the gunman seen on the surveillance video.
Do you want something to drink real quick while I get my stuff?
No, I'm fine.
Alright. Say your full name, please.
Kenya had asked to talk to the detectives in charge of the case because she believed she had some information about who had done it. And that's when the case really got started.
Detectives begin by asking Kenya about her connection to Lamont.
He's been over my house, but Lamont has been my friend for so long, I would never do anything to put him in any type of harm's way.
So, explain to me, you said you believe you know a motive.
Kenya then reveals something that she previously kept secret. She and Lamont were more than just friends.
So I'm not denying that Lamont and I had anything going on.
When did you start sleeping with Lamont?
We didn't start sleeping together until like June. And that's why I'm coming here.
According to Kenya, the relationship with Lamont pushed her ex over the edge.
What makes you think that because of everything else going on between you and him, that he would go and kill Lamont?
I really feel like he did it. He's hot-headed. He gets angry. He's a loose cannon. I feel like he did it just because of the situation. I'm worried that if he did do it, he might come after me.
Well, what would make you think he would do it?
He told me he would kill me.
On August 10th, 2018, a woman named Kenya tells investigators that her ex, Franklin Scott, may have killed Lamont Adair.
She wanted the police to know that she and Franklin Scott had a pretty tumultuous relationship consisting of several protective orders, but also 2 young children. So they were on again, off again. I believe there was allegations that he had tased her. So there was definitely a rocky relationship there. That relationship officially ended in the beginning of May of 2018.
Because he's seen that Lamont was so supportive of me. He hacked into my Snapchat and he's seen how often Lamont and I were together.
Franklin Scott was clearly obsessed with Lamont Adair and the relationship that Lamont had had with Kenya.
Frank is short. He's like 5'3", and he's always self-conscious about that. Like, you don't want me because I'm small, I'm short, you want to tall. It's so messed up that you just moved on with a basketball player.
He lost it, knowing that she ran to basically his worst nightmare, a talented, tall, good-looking guy.
It makes me cry, but I really feel like he did it.
Then she offers more details that increase the detective's interest.
What's he look like?
He's short. He's about 5'3". He has dreads.
What kind of hair does he have?
He has dreads, long dreads.
How long are they?
Maybe like here.
Down there?
Yeah.
He had long dreads. He matched the physical description of the person who conducted the shooting. Franklin Scott did have a prior firearms charge, so we knew from that he had access to weapons. So that also was something that we were looking at as important.
When they asked Kenya what type of vehicle he drives, she says that he used to drive a BMW and that was in the shop. She mentions that she believes he's been driving a rental vehicle, possibly a gray Toyota.
The same type of car observed in the surveillance video. Investigators then ask about her contact with Scott on August 8th.
She told police that she received a phone call from Franklin Scott the day of the murder. She was at work at the time.
He was in the car driving when I was speaking to him.
Do you remember hearing any voices? Anybody else that could have been with him?
It was somebody else with him. He has I know his voice is kind of deep but high at the same time.
She said she recognized that voice to be Elijah Wan Jackson because his voice is characteristically raspy.
It was O.J. Jackson. He had a nickname of O.J. the Shooter. He had a prior record as well.
If you had to leave right now and go find him, where would you go?
I don't know. Mom, maybe at O.J.'s house.
At the time, the detectives were looking everywhere for him. They put out feelers everywhere trying to track him down. But after the murder, they were already gone.
To narrow the search, they continue to focus on the vehicle spotted in the video.
It's not until Kenya kind of comes out and we find out that the suspect rented a vehicle. She mentions a gray Toyota. Eventually, they do locate the rental vehicle, parked on a street in the Seat Pleasant area.
After the murder, Franklin Scott basically parked the Corolla and walked off.
A search of the car reveals bullet fragments inside. But there's no sign of the murder weapon. Then, in their quest to locate Scott, investigators recall a detail from his criminal past.
They knew that he had to report for his pending gun charge in Anne Arundel County.
Well, one of the detectives realized that Mr. Scott had a court date. And so on August 23rd, Prince George's County Police Department were sitting on the Anne Arundel County Courthouse in Glen Burnie, Maryland, waiting for Mr. Scott to show up for his court date. And it was then that they arrested him for the murder of Lamont Adair.
If he had thought that Kenya would be likely to talk, I think he wouldn't have set foot in that courthouse.
He's taken to the Criminal Investigation Division for the Prince George's County Police Department, and he asks for a lawyer so the police never get a chance to speak to him.
Eager to collect more evidence against Scott, detectives begin monitoring his phone calls from prison.
Within the week that he was arrested, he had made some jail calls asking his acquaintance to help him get rid of his babies, which the detectives were able to determine he was talking about his guns.
Locating the weapon used in the murder would bolster the prosecution's case.
Unfortunately, they listened to the jail calls a couple days after they were made, so by the time they were able to get a search warrant and search the house, there was no indication of any firearms there.
The failure to find the weapon is a blow to the investigation.
What we had at that time was not enough. It was enough for probable cause, which got Franklin Scott to be arrested, but it wasn't enough to find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. We knew we needed somebody involved in that moment to be able to be in court and point at Franklin Scott and say he's the one who shot repeatedly at Lamont Adair and killed him.
That man is Elijah Jackson.
If we wanted who was truly responsible for this, we had to find him. So police immediately zeroed in to track him down.
To bring the killer of Lamont Adair to justice, investigators must track down his suspected accomplice, O.J. Jackson.
I had been watching social media, and OJ was traveling. He would go to Texas or Florida, I think it was, come back. Like, he's active on his social media page.
But 16 days after the homicide, police get word that Jackson has returned to the Seat Pleasant area.
On August 24th, police find Elijah Jackson at his home, and that's when they bring him in to interview him about his involvement.
They interviewed him pretty extensively for a couple hours. At the end of the interview, he got real quiet, and the detectives asked him something, and he indicated that he wanted to talk to his mother. And his mother came in, and you saw a pretty profound exchange.
His mother tells him, you need to tell the police the truth. You don't need to be going down for this. You need to be honest.
Elijah Jackson is finally ready to provide a first-hand account of the tragic events captured by the security camera.
He made it sound like he bumped into Franklin Scott as he was walking. I think that Franklin Scott picked him up.
He hears Franklin Scott say, there he goes. The car slows down, pulls a gun out of the driver's side door, handle shoots out the window a few times, opens the door and jumps out of the car. And he says the car keeps going, and he jumps over into the driver's seat and put the brake on.
Then Jackson observed Lamont's final moment.
Scott is chanting over Lamont Adair and firing. I think it all happened so fast, and it was a surprise to OJ. OJ Jackson just wanted to get out of Dodge.
OJ indicated that he was not expecting it. However, he did get into the front driver's side seat. He was ultimately charged with accessory after the fact.
Franklin Scott accepted responsibility for what he did as well, and primarily because he knew that Elijah Jackson was going to offer testimony against him.
Franklin Scott pled guilty to first-degree murder. I'm pretty proud of that. It's a more certain outcome than going to trial. So I'm happy with the results.
Elijah Jackson is serving a 6-year sentence. Franklin Scott is serving 50 years.
The heartbreaking part about it was, if I recall correctly, the mothers knew each other from the neighborhood. That was a really profound thing to sit and observe.
I mean, I know Franklin's mother, but I hadn't seen Franklin in a long time, so I couldn't identify him from a cracked egg. I walked over, I said, how you doing? And she just started shaking and crying. My son was the one who killed your son. Of course, me, I hug her, and my kids are like, Mom, why are you hugging her? And I felt one mother to another. You know, my son is dead. Yours going away for 50 years. It's like he almost dead. But I told him, I said, I have to forgive you for the God in me, but I'll never forget what you have stole from me and my family. You took something very dear from us. Lamont, Tree, Monty. You had no right to do that. You weren't God, but you tried to play God that day.
With the murder case resolved, the family continues to process their grief and replay Lamont's final moments.
Makai had just started walking right before Lamont passed. He shows me the phone, and I'm just like trying to hold back the tears. I had a feeling about Lamont, like it was the last time I was going to see him. It was very weird When I think about it and how I felt like I had to just let him go because I was getting teary-eyed, and that was the last time I saw Lamont. Him sharing a moment from Makai being able to walk.
I wish I had offered him a ride that day. It's a lot of things you look at and you're like, you could have done differently, but yeah. No, I just, like, I think about him all the time.
You know, Lamont knew we loved him, and he loved us. And at the end of the day, nothing else matters. Go ahead.
When you look at it, the person touches like so many people, and it's disappointing because he had a bright future ahead of him.
I'm just proud of him for the man that he was and who he was trying to become, you know, for his family.
Gone too soon. Very, very hard.